Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today, I am here to talk to you guys about Lego. Why are we even here? I don't know. It was just, I was out here recording some videos for the other channels and TikTok and stuff, and I thought, you know what, this is a pretty nice place to record a video, why not do it here? Anyway, today, I am here to talk to you about why Ninjago is probably the best Ninjago theme in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying that it's a perfect theme, I'm just saying that it is one of the best themes. So, starting off from the very beginning, from the Skullkin, I think, wave with the pilot episodes. First off, the pilot was brilliant. I'm sure a lot of people would agree with that. The first couple of episodes were probably nostalgic to some people, but I'm sure most people can agree that they are at least good episodes. The sets that came with it were all brilliant. Like, the dragon sets were varied amongst being just 4 dragons. Somehow LEGO were able to make 4 different and very unique dragons with different personalities and things, which I think is very impressive. So, you had the dragons for the ninja at the start, and then, there wasn't much else for them. There was like the monastery, which I admit, not the best build that they could have done. But then if you think about like the skeleton vehicles that they produced for Ninjago, they were, again, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would agree, some brilliant sets. Some really well thought out, well planned and well designed builds. The temple for Garmadon, like the castle build, I can't remember what the set was called, unfortunately, but that set was, again, one of those sets I think a lot of people say and agree with me that that was a set that will go down in Ninjago history, if not Lego history, as being a brilliant set. Speaking of which, the next wave of Ninjago, honestly, not the best. I didn't get many of the sets for it, and it was a bit of a low point, to be honest. The snake vehicles were alright. I think the Serpentine could have been done a little bit better. I just feel like the green, it was just not the right colour, and it got very repetitive. But, the rest of the builds, Ultrasonic Crater, I think, that was a good build. I didn't get it, but from the reviews that I've seen, it was good. As well as the Great Devourer. That was also a brilliant build that I wished that I got, and I was looking at getting the other day, because I was feeling a little bit weak. But honestly, second wave wasn't the best. Even then, even when I say that this wave wasn't that good, I am wrong when I say that, because the minifigures were all really well done. I think the concepts for the sets were all good. It was like a really clever idea, and then the show to go with it, again, really fun, really interesting. I could be speaking through nostalgia a little bit, but then, we move on to the final battle, when Ninjago was going to end, when it was all ending. I hope you guys don't mind if I put up my hood, because it is getting quite cold and I'm struggling to feel my hands at this point. Anyway, yes, the final battle, that was, honestly, my biggest regret is not getting more of the sets. I think each minifigure for that, first off, was brilliant. But the ninja suits were awesome. The Stone Army was awesome. And then the builds. I know a lot of people didn't like the builds. And to be honest, the Golden Dragon could have been done better, I think. At least we got the rebooted one. I prefer the legacy version of that. But everything else was awesome. I think the Stone Army builds were really cool. The Temple of Light was awesome, and I really wished I got some of those sets because of how good they were. But then, Rebooted. Again, just real quick, the show, again, I know a lot of people hated on the first couple of episodes of the final battle season just because it had nothing to do with the show. In a way, it was kind of just its own thing, just kind of setting everything up. I still enjoyed them. I don't as much now, and I do kind of wish that they went on to the Dark Island a little bit sooner. But I still think they were entertaining as a kid. It was good, I guess. But then we had the rebooted season, you know? I saw that trailer. I thought Ninjago was done for. And then I saw that trailer, and I think I came a little. That trailer, first off, was awesome. The sets that came out with it were either good or great. And the only real reason why I didn't get more of the sets, I literally got Kai's car and the set with the small £20 Ninja versus Cole set. I can't remember what it was called. It was like a spinny disc thing. I'll have a picture of it somewhere. I have a picture of the two sets that I got for that wave. But I feel like every set that wave was brilliant. The Temple, I think, is one that I still might consider getting. It was a brilliant set. This is basically just me fanboying over Ninjago, because holy fuck. Ninjago Rebooted had some amazing sets. The minifigures were a bit of a downgrade, considering the figures that we got before, where the legs were pretty plain. But then again, I feel like it kind of suited that wave, where everything was nice and pristine and neat. So I feel like, although the sets, the minifigures themselves could have been possibly improved, I feel like, first off, it was accurate to the show designs. Second off, other than maybe adding some like elemental designs for the legs, I don't think I would have wanted any other printing. You know, I didn't think it would have suited any straps or any like belt buckles or anything like that. I think how they were designed was quite good. I feel like I'm going about this way too much, but the Nindroids were also cool. No, because we had the cyborg minifigures before. I was going to say first time they had cyborg-ish heads. So that was pretty cool. All of the colours for the Nindroid sets, I feel like, were pretty good. I quite liked the red and purple and black designs. I feel like they all came together quite well. And then, you know, that temple, I'm going to keep on going on about it because it was just, it was amazing. Honestly, I think the only reason why I didn't get it is because I had wasted all my money on other things at the time. I can't remember, I was like quite young when I got the sets. So anyway, the next season being the Tournament of Elements, you know, that was quite an interesting wave. I was meant to say, as well as the last one, it was the first time that we got all the ninjas' hair pieces. It was a good way to collect them if you liked Ninjago, or even if you wanted just some, you know, anime hair for Kai, or, you know, just some different wacky hair designs. I feel like that was Tournament of Elements. That the season itself, like the show, was quite cool. A lot of people say it's their favourite. I think the next season is going to be my favourite, and we'll talk about that when it happens. But the Tournament of Elements was quite a cool thing to happen, I think. It was, first off, interesting to see all these different things that we hadn't explored before, such as speed and, you know, other things like that. I don't know why I only listed speed, but, you know, metal and all of these other things were all really interesting to see getting done. You know, we got some interesting figures with the Anacondae, warriors, and then the Serpentine themselves. I forgot to say this with the original Serpentine wave, is the Serpentine figures were all well designed. The custom molded snake heads and all of that were all really cool to see. And the minifigures, we got an individual suit for each of the ninja, other than Zane, which wouldn't have made sense if we had a half mask version of him, considering the season. And I feel like it was the first real season that had a lot of weight behind it. Not weight, but more depth, I think. And I really liked that season. It was starting to come to the peak of Ninjago. Then we hit Possession, and what a season. My favourite season so far, ever. It was, at the time, really interesting to see this get done by LEGO. You know, getting possessed by a ghost, Lloyd being the main villain for a bit of it. Like, that was so interesting to see. And Morrow was quite an in-depth character. The fact that they showed him dead as a child, like, the fuck, LEGO, that was quite dark. And it was cool to see that it wasn't being treated so much as a kids show, and it was more aimed towards kids, but it had stuff in it for teenagers, and even some adults, I'm pretty sure, would agree that that is a pretty good show. That is a pretty good season for Ninjago. The suit designs, which were the best suit designs, other than maybe Skybound, I really liked the fact that they made them a uniform while still having their individual flares. Like, the fact that you could have the same kind of suits. It was all this black ninja suit, which is practical for the fact that they're ninjas. I don't know why I'm going into the practicality of a Lego minifigure suit, but we are. But it still had the distinction between each ninja with all of their different personalities, the red, the blue, the grey, and then we get down to Nia's suit. That was a cool suit. I think it would have been cooler to see her have a deep stone suit, just because I really liked the designs for those suits. However, the fact that she had her own unique suit, considering that it was her first time being a ninja and she wouldn't have earned it, I think that's kind of cool. But Nia's backstory for that season, the Wu and Morrow storyline, and Lloyd going through his struggles too. So then move on to Skybound, and as I said, favourite suits for the season. And then we have Narcon. Honestly, not the best. It was an interesting concept, and it was a fun way that they handled it. I still enjoyed the show. I still enjoyed the characters. It's just not the best. I forgot to talk about the sets for last season. Holy shit, because I was so interested in that. The sets were awesome. Destiny's Bounty for that set was brilliant. Cole's Deepstone bike was cool. The fact that we didn't get Kai set was a little bit but that's just because Kai's my favourite ninja. I feel like the sets that we did get, Zane's Titan Mech, even the rebooted one is awesome. The legacy version of that is just amazing. I love them. And I think even the villain sets, Morrow's Wind Dragon was cool. Everything was so interesting for that set, for that wave. Such a variety and stuff. Everything was just so interesting that they put out with such a different variety and spin on things. It was just the top tier. I mean, the Jay Walker, first off, not the right name. Second off, it was a cool concept, kind of like a Ghostbusters vehicle, that kind of thing, but I don't know, it just wasn't for me. That's the only set that I didn't like. Everything else, though, was just brilliant. Now, as I kind of rushed ahead into the Sky Pirates, the figures were all interesting, quite a variety and stuff. We had the big figs, first big fig in Ninjago. We had Nadakan with 4 arms and the hook hand. It was quite cool to see all of these different things get done. The monkey, but it just wasn't quite it for me. The season was cool. It was cool to see Nia have the thing with Nadakan, and it was cool to see Jay be the focus ninja. I really liked that. But the fact that they had to get rid of every other ninja to make him the focus was, I feel like it could have been nice if they had just made him the lead for once. But, it was still good. It was still interesting, and I still really like that season. And then, we have Day of the Departed TV special. It was good. I really liked all the sets that came out for it. The TV show itself wasn't the best. It was cool to see Cole as a focus ninja, and it was cool the figures that were released. I really liked the figure designs and the fact that we got to see all these old villains return. Could it have been done better? Yeah, probably. If it was its own season, maybe. I think that would have been cool. I feel like they just kind of rushed it. But I kind of see why they did rush it as well, because if they had done 2 Ghost seasons so close to each other, that probably wouldn't have been as good. But but still, I think what we got was pretty good, and it gets more hate than it deserves. Anyway, right, starting to get excited for the Ninjago movie, but first we have Hands of Time. A lot of people don't like the animation for it. I didn't really notice that much of a change. I did notice a bit of a change, but honestly, not that bad. Not as bad as people say. Now, do I like the story? Yeah, I really liked the fact that we got to see Kai and Nia be the focus, because it was more of a Kai and Nia season rather than either. And then the fact that we had the parents returning, Ray and Maya, um, that was, first off, great to see. I am so happy that we got them. Um, kind of feel like they were wasted since then, but they were used well in that show. And then the time twins, Dr. Saunders being a time twin, it was cool to see time get used and time travel get used in that. But I feel like I'm going to kind of have to rush through the next couple of things. So the Iron Doom set was awesome. I really liked that build. Bit shit from the back. Everything else, really cool figures. The Vermilion Army wasn't that interesting. It was interesting in the show, just the figures weren't that cool. Then the ninja suits were pretty cool. I liked them. In fact, it's hard to think of a suit design that I didn't like, other than maybe the scuba ones. I still think it made sense with the context of what was going on, with the diving suits. However, I will also talk more about that later on. So sets were good. Mostly wasn't my kind of thing, I don't think, but the sets themselves weren't that bad. Then we move on to the movie. First time that we had a Lego show turn into a movie. I wish that it was part of the Ninjago universe, but I can also see why they didn't do that, and it wouldn't have made sense with everything else going on. I love the sets for that. All of the sets were really well done. I can't think of one set that I wouldn't have got if I had the chance. And then, the movie itself, it was cool to see. It came out on my birthday, so I was super happy about that. I got to see that on the day it was released in an empty cinema. Honestly, best memories of that. Talking about that way too much, though. Sets are awesome. Movie was good. Given more hate than it deserves. Then we move on to Sons of Garmadon. I really liked Harumi, and that kind of leads on to the next season as well. But the suit designs were cool. It was really cool to see them go back to the more simplistic, just solid colors, individual green, blue, grey, I think, for Nia was that season. But I do prefer the suit designs for the next season, which is more of a makeshift kind of do what you can to survive kind of thing. I really liked that. The Ninja on the Run, the fact that they were split up so much was a little bit awkward. However, the fact that they were split up was also interesting, and I really liked the fact that they did that. However, I don't know if that was also the best choice, because it then means that the story was kind of split up into two separate things, which wasn't too bad. We kind of got to see what was happening in both at the same time. But maybe if they had done one episode based in the Dragon World and then one episode based on normal Ninjago City, I don't know. I'm not a story writer. It was just always annoying that I had to wait until the next part to see what was happening with each storyline. But again, not a bad season. Loved it. Then we move on to the March of the Oni. I don't remember much of it. It was cool to see. It was fun to get that kind of thing happen, where it's like all the Ninja and Garmadon working together. Honestly, not that much to say. The sets were shit, because we literally just got a figure pack and then the start of Legacy. However, the sets that we got for Legacy were good. They didn't really tie in that much, but, we don't have that much to go on for the sets. The season itself was pretty good, though, so I don't know. I'm mixed on it. Then after March the Oni, we had the Fire and Ice season. Then we had the Fire and Ice season. Honestly, not that much to comment. I don't think I fully watched the Ice chapter because it didn't really interest me. But the sets that we got for them were good. The minifigures were good. Asphera was a cool villain, and so was the Ice Emperor being Zane. Again, an interesting concept. Just, it wasn't for me. Clutch Powers was cool to see again. Although I feel like the way that they handled him was kind of bad. He wasn't in it that much, and he was just kind of comic relief. However, he was still cool to see. I'm really glad that we got a figure of him finally. But anyway, next we're on to Prime Empire. Now, all of the sets for this were like digital themed, and it was the first time we had that since the Nindroid wave back in 2013, I think. 2013 or 14, and it was cool to see that we had these new designs for everything. It was cool to see that they were basing it on a digital in-game thing, and the health bar thing was a cool concept. Wasn't a fan of it. I didn't like the season, and I didn't like many of the sets. The Unagami dragon was quite cool, and so was the like tower temple thing. I thought they were cool sets, but other than that, nothing else was really for me. I got the street race and the Kaimek, but that was just because it was a cool scene in the show, and I thought the builds were still interesting. Not so much now, but you know, it is what it is. Then we move on to getting back into the good stuff. After the digital stuff, we had the underground. What was it called? It'll be on the screen because I can't remember the name of it. But this next wave with the underground, like Dungeons and Dragons, like medieval kind of thing, was really cool. The minifigures were all really cool. The goblins and the trolls were cool. I wish we had a bit more variety among them. And then the Skull Sorcerer being the main villain was also really fun to have. All the sets were awesome. I really like it when LEGO does individual sets or parts of sets that all connect together. So if LEGO ever did it again where they put a side build from each set that went together to build one thing that wouldn't also be necessary to get each individual part like they did with the Skull Sorcerer. So you have the main set being the Skull Temple, but then each set had something to add to that one thing. If LEGO did more of that, I would love it. It would be so cool because it doesn't force you to get every set like the Infinity Stones in Avengers, but it did still add to each set once you had the big build. Or you could just use each individual part separately and it would still make sense. You know, that was awesome. The show was cool. I loved that wave. The big one, you know, underwater theme. I can't remember what it was called again, but that was a hard one, to be honest. The sets that came out for that, I liked most of them. I liked the concept of them all. The Hydro Bounty and the Temple, the Rise of Unagami, no, the Rise of the Sea Serpent, Great Devourer Part 2. I can't remember what it was called. Why can't I remember stuff from the newest season? Ugh. Fix me. But the sets that came out were interesting. I wasn't a huge fan on a lot of them. However, the two biggest sets that wave were really nice, and I did really enjoy them. The figures were all cool. I liked the Hydro Serpents, and I liked the concept behind Underwater Ninja. I just wish they looked more like Ninja. Same as the Night season, I guess, where the figures themselves were pretty cool. However, the minifigures didn't turn out as they should have. You know, like, it was cool to see Underwater Ninja. It's just, it doesn't make sense treating them as ninja, you know. Although I realised that I missed the island. The island, the short spin-off series, setting up for the underwater theme was cool. I liked the sets that came out for it. I liked the suits that came out for it. Again, really nice suits, in my opinion. Just the season itself wasn't the best. it wasn't bad. I won't say it was bad, but it wasn't the best. It was a fun season, it was a fun story, and it was a good setup for the next season. And it was a good setup for the next season, which was a really good season. So if you treat it as just part of the underwater season, then it's good. But if you try and treat it as its own thing, then less so. But it was a good season if you treat it as part of the wider Ninjago story. So the sets were all different, and then the season itself, if we're including the island, was cool. I really liked the Calamar villain. I think that was his name. And then Nia's story arc was so good. It was so good to see her as the main character again, and it was so good to see her sacrifice, even though it hurt. It hurt everyone deep inside, but it was worth it. It was such a good season, and I can't wait to see what Ninjago does next. Honestly, I don't know why I decided to do such a big talk about Ninjago. I think it's because all the new sets are coming out, and I'm kind of hyped for them. But you know, it is what it is. I hope you enjoyed this video where I basically just talk good stuff about Ninjago for however long. This was originally meant to be a video where I talk about why Ninjago is one of the best themes, but I don't think it's going to be that anymore, and it's literally just going to be me talking about each wave of sets. So I may need to talk about the intro a little bit more. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to leave a like, subscribe, all of that usual stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.